Machete, one of our newest community leaders, is here tonight to help us talk about GSF and PvP. See, we think GSF in the PvP season makes a lot of sense. So we'll talk about that and more on this episode of the SWTOR Escape podcast from newoverlords.com. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 463. And with me is the GSF expert, Seema. Hello there, Seema. How's it going?
Yes, that's totally what I am, the GSF expert. I'm glad someone finally noticed that. Um, yeah, things are going great. I've been working on Conquest and Galactic Seasons this week, as is my normal routine. But one thing I did that I wanted to talk a little bit about was just I took my character that I'm leveling, Rhodian Mayo, and um, I said, okay, I want to do a couple of black holes this week because it's the Galactic Seasons target. And so I said, okay, I'll take my leveling character to do that. And I bought him the item from the Jawa in the Cartel Bazaar where it's supposed to make the notes of reflection drop more often. So I said, okay, I'll turn that on while I'm doing black hole, and I'll hit like 3 birds with one stone, right? Because he's leveling.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get conquest for doing it, and it'll go towards the Galactic Seasons target. So that's what I did. And what I found was that I did black hole, and then I did CZ-198, and in those two things I killed I don't know, a couple of hundred or 154 mobs or something like that, and I got 20 notes of reflection. So tomorrow I'm going to try it without the item and see how many notes of reflection I get. I'm just kind of curious. Also, I feel like I got more of the item when I was doing just flat out farming, like going in a circle on Tatooine and killing bugs.
Yeah.
So doing black hole, you're actually, running over here to get a quest item, and you do things where you don't kill anybody, like when you're inside
Right.
the building, jumping, looking for the things, and um, so that might not be the best way to use your, what is it, 500 purple Jawa junk.
Oh, really? Is it 500?
I I don't know.
That's
I
kind of
just
rough.
yeah, yeah, yes.
Not that I don't have tens of thousands, but still, I don't want to.
Yeah, I just have 3 stacks or 4 stacks of purple now. I
Well,
mean, and
still,
I have even
that's
fewer stacks of the green. I feel
three.
like I'm
But
running out of Jawa junk.
I mean, 3 or 4 stacks is still tens of thousands. But
Yes, yes. Yes, it is. So yeah, that, and then in our ops night, which Machete was a part of, we went and did what's it called? Machete, the galactic target where you
sparks
we
of war.
yes, Sparks of
Yeah.
War. Um, we did that because a couple of people on our team weren't able to make MFN, and so they didn't have it already. So we did that, and then we went and did an exciting thing, which is
Scary mode.
Eternity Vault. Scary mode, right? Eternity Vault was hilarious because, yes, I've been there before when the levels kind of bug out,
Yeah.
but this was like super solid bugging out. It was the best
It was.
bugging out I've seen.
Yeah, it was basically the worst we've ever seen, or the best, as the case
Yeah,
may
so
be.
the platforms were just flat out not showing no matter what you did. And so the people who made it to the bottom on our second attempt, which I was not one, were the ones that could remember the best where they should be.
Right. Or just waited for someone else to
Yes, waited for
to
someone
make it.
else to
I
right,
kinda
right.
hung way back. I was
We had
like,
4
"Oh,
people at the end,
machete
which I
went the
was
wrong way. I won't go that way."
yes.
Someone had to be the scapegoat, right? I mean,
I fell because I waited too long to decide one time, and the platform I was actually on,
Right.
yeah, went
Yeah,
away.
that's another danger.
Yeah, so, but that was fun. So, having fun in SWTOR this week. So, but I'm really excited tonight because we have Machete on with us, and yeah, Machete, how has your life been going in SWTOR this week?
well, first and foremost, thank you for letting me be a part of this. But yes, SWTOR has been a lot of fun, a lot of activity in the guild, and Sunday, Monday, but especially Wednesdays and Thursdays with PvP and GSF. always looking to get some more people along, especially with seasons coming are on board right now. They like to rotate through a lot of the PvP objectives, so um, it's been a lot of fun. Definitely a learning experience. It's certainly not competitive by any means. It's just a way to go out, have fun, get some mats, and kind of joke around in the process. So that's always kind of the name of the game for me. So it's been good. And then Fridays GSF. Uh, Actually, I feel like GSF we have sometimes get a little bit bigger of a turnout, but a lot of fun things there as well. So I know a lot of people don't like just doing war zones, but yeah,
Hmm.
GSF is a nice, change of pace and kind of gives you a little bit more bigger range of doing group activities.
I mean, GSF is definitely PvP, but I wonder if people kind of view GSF as sort of PvP light because you're not actually in each other's faces as a
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah, I think in fact we'll talk about that in the segment,
Okay.
but I think that's uh, a good characterization of how it makes you feel, and I think that's an important thing to get into. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Um, yeah. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much the week to week for me. But yeah, PvP and GSF has been probably what like a couple months now.
Yeah,
Been up and running. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I forgot to mention Machete that for MSFN this week we had led by a triumvirate was Lucy,
that's right.
you, and Max.
Yeah, it was
That was
mostly
really fun.
Lucy and Machete leading the way on Tuesday night, which was great. Good fun
Yes.
had by all there on Tuesday.
and a little bit
Uh,
of backstories for NPCs as well.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Sparks of War, we're in Corellia on in one of the tram stations where there's the Imperial Guards, and we're killing them, and we're going up to the into the tram station, up to the top platform where they're just standing around, right? They're just like standing around waiting for a tram, and so we we put this story together
Feels
that
bad, man.
they're like they're just commuting. They're just trying to get home for their job, and honey, I'll be home in 20 minutes. Tram's almost. Oh, these guys? These guys are coming and they're shooting me. I'm gonna be late again. It's always something with you, Roger. So we went back and forth on that, and then we went down and we killed him again. And they're like, they came twice. It's not my fault, Roger. You could have made it home if you tried.
It's
Anyway,
always
that
a
was
new
pretty
story
hilarious.
with you, Roger.
Always, always
Yes.
something. So yeah, that was Roger. That was pretty hilarious. Yeah, so I've been doing all those similar things as well. I've been very focused on both season tracks. I think I've been saying this for 2 weeks now, but I'm very relatively sure that I'm gonna stop with the PvP season track, and we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into it.
You're close to that decision.
Yes, I did finish the Galactic season, all of my 7 weeklies for Galactic seasons, including the 4 12-point objectives, already as of Thursday morning, so in 2.5 days, because can't wait. Can't wait because
No.
I needed to plow through in order to get the 4 12-pointers done before the other ones would accidentally
Right.
complete, and I wouldn't be able to get one of the 12-point ones. This continues to
Right.
be a problem. It
Yes.
contin
So that's a pressure.
Yeah, it's
And
weird.
not only that too, I feel like isn't it easier doesn't the queue pop better earlier in the week when there's a
It
bunch of
does.
people working on yeah.
It does. So that's fine. A fine way to go about doing it. I got a fair number of medals on our Wednesday night uh, ob- PvP night. I didn't get all of them done. I only got about half of them done because I came late, and then I finished them up this morning. So I got that one done. What were the other fearsome foes? We killed the 2 world bosses. That's really good to do earlier in the week. Also, we did it on MFN for our Tuesday night thing, but I had done it earlier in the day because I was staking out a couple characters and just happened to get some tags in. Sparks of War, we're killing the champion guards. And then, yeah, as I said, the decorated combatant, which was getting the medals. The other ones that we're just going to get done automatically was things like reflecting on peace. That's getting getting collecting notes of reflection. Everything you do collects notes of reflection, so that one's just going to complete. So now with the 4 trying to get those 4 done. Now you're up to 5. March Across the Galaxy, you're gonna get automatically because that's just 200K personal conquest points, which you're just gonna get. So now you're up to 6. So there's only one more that I had space for before. That's why I had to get the 12-point ones done. And I ended up doing Pilgrim's Purpose, which was rep, which I was gonna get done anyway. So I had to be careful not to turn in the rep in case like something else happened, like
Right.
kill 15 enemies with destructible objects. You could have accidentally got that one done also. So if you accidentally got that one done and you got the rep one done before you finished all of your medals, you might have gotten like, like 38 medals out of 45 and blew your chance to finish that
Mm-hmm.
objective.
Yeah.
So it's
That would
it's
make me cry if that happened to me.
right. Sunk cost
Because
fallacy,
those
but
medals are pretty hard won.
yeah, exactly. Although I got a ton of them in my last match. I was getting like nothing, 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 annoying, 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 and then I got a ton of them in a I don't know, a Yavin.
I mean, I did a similar thing because I started off crafting the decoration ones, the fabrication crystals,
Yep.
and the
Oh, that's
and then
yeah, Forging Darkness. Yeah.
I thought no, let me not do that because I want to make sure I finish Forging Darkness, which is a 12.1. That's the one where you make dark projects and invasion forces, and I
Right.
didn't want to be closed out from that one since I had already started it. But I'm not going to hit 7 accidentally anyway, so I'll be fine. But I did have that thought process.
Yeah. So that's a little weird because of the difference between the 12 and 8, and it doesn't really matter, but it feels like it matters, which is makes it weird.
It matters if you feel like you're running low on notes, which I feel like I
Mm.
am. So
Right, because you get more
mm,
notes for the
you get
12
more
pointers.
notes. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a reality thing or if I'm just sort of making it up, but I feel like I'm not getting notes fast enough to get my 5K rep every week.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I guess you'll see. And plus you're doing your experiments with the boost,
Hmm.
which should get you a couple extra notes. You'll be able to see if you're like I
Yeah.
hit the cap. In fact, I probably lost some notes that uh, because I was at 200. I hit 200 last week, and I hit 200 again this week. I only sold off 100, so I'm only really doing 100. But at some point, I got enough to get up to 200.
Yeah, I spent all mine earlier in the week on rep items.
I did the PvP season track as well. I ground my way through the 3 Warzone ones because it was Warzone for the Galactic season, getting medals in the Warzones. Although, could you have gotten the medals with the arenas? It was Warzones, wasn't it? Earn PvP no, it was just PvP medals. So I could have switched over, but because we did our Tuesday night thing in Warzones, I did the Warzones. It's much easier for me to get medals in arenas for whatever reason because it's healing and DPS. You do something like Hutball, and you can go through a match where like hardly anybody on either team gets 7 medals, which is the cutoff for it to count for the PvP track objective.
Yeah, there was one match I got 0 medals.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. The other
PvP.
team just goes really
Up.
fast,
Wait,
and
what
you
do you
can't get
mean
on
the
the ball.
cutoff? Like if you don't make 7 medals, they don't count?
One of the 3 on each of so there's 6 total weekly objectives for the PvP weeklies for this season track. One of
Mm-hmm.
each of them is get 7 medals or more in 4
Oh,
war
I
zones.
see. Okay, gotcha.
So if you're trying to get that one done quick, you got to get 7 medals or more. It's a pain in the objective ones because they haven't tuned them, and they're working on them, but they haven't tuned them. So, like doing a million DPS gets you no medals. It doesn't matter. You get 1 medal for getting a 30K hit or greater once, and 1 for a 30K heal or greater. But I'm not a healer, but I can sometimes hit that with some boosts and bonuses. And then it's objective stuff. So me as a Sork in Hutball, where I'm clearing the way and I'm yanking people up, like I'll stand up on top and I'll yank people up so that they can score. I get no attacker or defender medals for doing that, but we win. Now, if we won
Mm-hmm.
fast enough, you get a lot of medals for winning fast, but not it's in a balanced team, you're not winning fast.
It'd
In
be cool if
fact,
they use it
nobody
as like
might
an
be.
assist, right? Like an
Right.
assist medal.
Right, right. And that would be a tougher one to code, so I don't know how they're gonna do that, but they're gonna go Warzone by Warzone and figure out how to make it easier to earn the medals, so but that's what I've been doing. There's not a lot, but let's take a look at what's going on in the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
I figured we would put this one back in. Sima, why don't you give us a reminder of what's going on there with
So
the
basically,
server?
what Max is referring to is we do have a test server up right now, and it's run completely on the cloud, and they're asking people to log in, do a few activities. In return for that, you'll get an opal volptil amount, which is this, which you might have gotten from the PTS, but this is a second chance if you didn't get it. And it's not like the other test servers. Like, you don't have to download a new client. It's with the same client. The test server is Shea Vizsla. It shows up on the server list with all the production servers. And basically you can copy a character over, or you can create a character. It's your choice. And then you hit like a few things they want you to do. I think a flashpoint and a war zone and a couple other things to earn the mount. But basically what they're after is, how does this server perform? Did you notice things not working that you expected to work? And all versions of that. So uh, this server is physically located in the APAC area, so
Yep.
that's closer for people that are playing from um, Australia, Southeast Asia, farther from people for people who are playing in the US or Europe. So everyone is reporting in the thread their pings and where they're from and how their experience was. And so if that's of any interest to you, I recommend doing it because it'll help the game. Then there's a long-term goal, is if they can move all the players, all the servers, I mean, to the cloud, that there's going to be follow-on um, improvements that they'll be able to make to the game, how the game runs. It'll free up resources that are now supporting the older infrastructure that they have, or the current infrastructure that they have, that can work on other things. Um, and it might make it easier for them to create new servers, or whatever they want to do with the server infrastructure. And yeah, so moving forward
Yeah.
with technology.
Yep. It was fun to try it out. I didn't do any GSF or PvP. In fact, I meant to get back in there and try that. My
It's still up
pings were not bad. Yeah, it's still available. You can do it. My pings
until
were
April
not
18th.
terrible. 200 milliseconds here from Midwest all the way over to that server. People who are in Australia are reporting like down in the 15 18 milliseconds up to like
Hmm.
20s or 50s at the most, for depending on where they're at in that region.
And I
So
saw a
some really
number of
good.
people posting, even from Europe, or one post was from Ukraine, where they had a high ping, but they still had reasonable um, performance.
When I was playing, just started a brand new character. I was playing on Hada. I was at like 230, 230, 200 milliseconds. I noticed no difference. So
Right.
I think in PvP or GSF, where you're trying to shoot
And
somebody and then the
there's a
server's
lot of
syncing
effects.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, the syncing with someone else, because if they're ahead and there's a round trip to the server, you may think you shot them, but then the server tells you, and your client, and there's some prediction going on. Your client may show you shooting them with your gunship, but then it gets to the server and it comes back and it goes, no, they weren't really there. Sorry. And so you didn't shoot them. So that's where you see that kind of sync, those sync issues potentially. But yeah, it was good for me. Also, the only other big thing in the forums, which is continuing to be worked on, and Jackie's doing a lot of work in there, and the rest of BioWare seems to be doing quite a bit of work in there, is checking out the bugs. We do have some significant bugs, but the only big ones that people are posting about in the forums is a couple people are having some real FPS performance issues after 64-bit. Only a couple people. I mean, the thread's pretty short for that. It's only like a page of people discussing it and what to do about it. And they're getting there's a diagnostic logging tool that you can install to get more information, send that to BioWare. They're asking a whole bunch of questions. They're really trying to track that stuff down. Obviously, we're running into a couple other issues like platforms disappearing in the SOA fight. There was another one that somebody mentioned. Did you guys see this? The Meksha Stronghold not unlocking in Legacy. Didn't even know it could unlock in Legacy, so that one was weird
I don't
to
know what
me.
that means.
Uh, and why?
Maybe they mean not all their characters can go to it, like it doesn't show as in their stronghold list.
Yeah, it didn't sound like that. It sounded like it wasn't unlocking in collections. Is it even in
But that
collections?
yeah, that
But
doesn't I don't get
no,
that.
it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's in their UI.
Do you
Uh,
need it in collections? I mean, any of your
Mm-mm.
alts can go to the
Mm-mm.
stronghold.
yeah, I don't
No, you
know. I
don't.
don't know, but there's some sort of discussion around that. Works fine for me for all my characters, and I have a bunch of characters that have been in and out there all week as I've been grinding materials still to make sure I've got enough banked for Dark Projects and Invasion Forces, which I had to do again, and I did those all early in the week too because I wanted to get it done.
Yeah, I've been working on that too.
Yeah. All right. What do we got in community news, Seema?
Oh, I mean, just I'll continue to say that um, our weekly fun night we call mandatory fun night. We continue to work on Galactic Seasons targets and conquest stuff. So if you want to work on some of those Galactic Seasons targets that take a group, um, you're more than welcome to come along.
And how do we phrase it, Seema?
How do we phrase it? Why
Re-
don't you educate us on how we phrase it,
It looks like
Max?
meat's back on our menu, boys.
No
Let's
way,
go.
God. Come on, kind of like the maggoty bread.
Did you hear that guy at the end?
Yeah.
Kind of like the maggoty bread. So if you don't know what that reference was, it is kind of meta because it's the scene from Lord of the Rings when they've got Merry and Pippin. This must be two towers. So Merry and Pippin are captured, and the orcs want to eat them, and then meat's back on the menu, boys. But then on YouTube, look up orcs with regular voices. So these guys dubbed over the orcs, just talking in regular voices. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. Gosh, yeah, all
It
right.
is. It's hilarious.
I kind of
If
like
you
the
haven't
maggoty
seen it,
bread.
I recommend checking it out.
You'll not be disappointed. It is
Right.
very funny.
And I mean, we all know about it because of MFN.
Yes,
Because one of the things we do during MFN is trade references like this.
but we also like to say something's back on the menu when we're doing it. Like PvP's back on the menu, boys, because we're doing our Wednesday nights.
Gosh.
Gosh. So yeah. So Galactic Seasons is back on the menu for Tuesday nights. That's the point there. So cool. Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Friday nights, ops nights, pretty much every other. I think nothing is. I don't think we have anything running on Saturday nights. I
That's
think
our
every other
free
night
night.
of the week is somebody's doing something. Either an
Yep.
ops team is running, or we've got a scheduled guild event, which is cool. All right, let's move on and talk a little bit about PvP.
Oh, that sound.
Yes, yes. So I'll start. We're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about uh, how PvP is just going in general, just the feel of it. We already talked about the season a little bit with Thon and what the tracks are like and that kind of thing. So just the feel of how that's going. A little bit on GSF, and we'll have a little debate here. Although we may be unified in our viewpoint of should GSF be in the PvP track for the PvP season. There's some pros and cons there.
Yeah, there are.
And then maybe we'll debate a little bit of our favorite GSF tips after that. But PvP. So as I said, I've been doing at least 3 of the season objectives every week. I did not do 4. I think I did 4 the first week and then only 3 this last week and this week. I finished my 3 this week and I'm kind of done. The thing I'm just kind of over with though, and this is why I may stop PvP, is because it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. It's not. I wouldn't say it's toxic. In fact, I've had some relatively good experiences. People are relatively positive, but little comments here and there crop up from time to time, but really, really not bad. So a lot of that objective of where they're trying to take PvP, I think, is working. The problem with something like PvP, and I even tried to start doing some academic research on where this lies, is it's a form of content in which you only feel good if someone else feels bad. That's kind of the way it works. Someone else has to lose in general. Someone else has to lose for you to win. And on average, because there are people at the top of the pack, they're going to be in a pre-made and they're going to, win, win, win. So on average, most people are going to lose more often than they win. So you're going to be feeling bad, half the time or more. If you're at the top of the pack and you're elite and you have a pre-made and you raffle stomp everybody, you're going to have a great time. And that is known. In fact, there's academic research that says the people that do that, at the best of the best, sure, they have a great time and they don't get stressed.
And their
But
happiness is increased.
but for everyone else, it's a tough situation. I feel this, personally. And for a lot of people, they don't feel it as strongly as I do, so it's not as much of an issue. But I feel this where I get angry and frustrated when I lose, and then I do feel good when I win. But I recognize that I'm feeling good because someone else lost, and we stomped them, and boo hoo for you. And that's kind of a dark. It's kind of a dark pattern. That's of it's I'm participating in a dark pattern in doing that. I'm putting myself in the situation where I'm letting myself be happy that someone else had a bad time, which is not a situation I really like. I don't like myself to be I don't
Right.
like myself to be angry with myself.
You
Uh,
don't want your happiness to be dependent on somebody else's sadness.
right. Right. And there are other dark patterns associated with it as well, which is you get into these situations, and you'll hear this from other PvPers when they talk to each other. They'll start to get competitive with each other, even if they're on the same side, where, oh, I did more healing than you, or I did more DPS than you, or what you end up is this hierarchies start to form, and people only feel good when they're high in the hierarchy by whatever measures and measurements sort of get created. And you'll that's another situation where you're only feeling good if someone else is below you. So these kinds of dark patterns in gaming exist and have the potential to be problematic and have the potential to generate in some cases very toxic behavior. And that's where a lot of toxic behavior has spun out of, because the way the event and the participation is organized, it makes it provides this opportunity to fall into these patterns. It's not to say it's bad or people shouldn't do it, but because I'm recognizing it in myself, where I get angry and frustrated, I get tense, and when I'm like on a losing streak, and my older daughter was in town for the weekend, she's coming in trying to talk to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll catch up, like I'm like being a jerk. I recognize after the fact, and I don't want to be that person. So again, I've grinded my way through this. I did some arenas, I did some war zones, I went through the PvP track. I'm only at level 7.5 or level 8, but I think I'm gonna hold back. It's not worth the armor set. That's really cool, but it's not worth the armor set to give myself the stress and the frustration, and to put myself in this situation where I start to enjoy other people having a bad time. I don't want to do that. In the rare cases where for GSF, for like the galactic season might have a more casual version of an objective, and we get some friends together on a Wednesday night and goof around and have fun, win or lose, that's a much more reasonable way for me personally to go about it. Okay. So there's my
That's
little
kind of that's
yeah.
yes, and you ended it with a segue.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because one of the people who invented that Wednesday night PvP event is Machete. So Machete, why don't you? There's my little newsletter, my little essay. Uh, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're definitely right. It's kind of a slippery slope, especially queuing with small groups or just people who want to start getting interested in PvP. They may not be used to the mechanics or the way these games work, and I'm equally guilty of it because I'm more or less relatively. I mean, I know how the games are played, but I'm relatively new to PvP. But what you were saying earlier is like sometimes within the group you get that level of toxicity of like you may have a string of bad games. You lose more than you win. Right. So if you get a bunch of bad games strung together, then sometimes, yeah, you can kind of point out, it's like, well, yeah, I did this much DPS in that match than this person on my team, so if they would have hit harder, then it would have been better. So I feel like it's almost like in your mind you're justifying why you're doing what you're doing. Like, why am I like grinding through this to get
Yeah,
these medals? But um, it's kind of hard to detach yourself from that. And I think the main goal of having these Wednesday night PvP meetups and Friday night GSF flights, it's the camaraderie. It's
Yeah,
not so much that I'm competing against you. I mean, we're in here in the same chat together as friends, right? We're joking around. We're throwing movie quotes back and forth with each other. And it's fun. But it does happen quite often. Like you'll get a string of bad games. If you have like a bigger group, I always feel like there's a fine line of how many people you could have in a group until you get put against a team that does like strictly PvP,
right,
and
yeah,
they do this all the time. And some of those
right.
games are just rough.
Because the matching system is going to push you towards other pre-mades if you have a big group yourself.
yeah. And it has to, and that's
Yeah,
fine. And those people are good, but again, they will only have a good time if you lose, and it puts you in a situation where somebody's got to lose for somebody to have a good time, which is kind of rough.
Right. I mean, and a lot of those times when you get pitted against those pre-made groups, it's sometimes it's they enjoy trolling you. It's like, oh, we're just gonna drag this game out to just maybe hope in the hopes that you just don't do PvP ever again. And in a lot of cases, I mean, even for myself, like you get in some of those games, you're like, "Oh, man, I can't stand this. Like this, like why am I doing this? Like why am I elevating my blood pressure? Or
Right.
I'm getting upset, and but then every now and then you'll get put in a game. In fact, Max, we were in a game, a hutball game, just this last Wednesday, and it was like a landslide. And then I think the other team was just more focused on getting kills. But I mean, we had a good line set up. I mean, we were getting the ball, we were passing it, and those few games that come across where you just like what you envision the strategy of playing these matches should be works out, and it kind of it brings you back. It's like you can have 100 bad games, and then the one good game you have, you're like, ah, this is why I do this. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but
But you got to do that math of is those 100 bad
Everyone
games.
has right, everyone has to decide for themselves how many bad games, and it's not worth it anymore for the one
Right.
good time.
Right. There's a lot of things where, like, if we wipe all night trying to get through a boss in operations, we wiped, and we're making progress, or we're not making progress, or we're figuring things out, and we're joking around, and we're having a good time, and no one is. I mean, we're kind of losing by not getting through it, but we can still measure our progress in terms of two steps forward, one step back, and no one is having a bad time, and
right, exactly.
it's
And
a
I think
different
like if
situation.
you were to bring in, widen it, I think when PvP seasons came out, the goal was to bring more players into PvP, right? But if you exclude a certain portion of it, in this case GSF, it's like, I mean, so you could do 3 or 4, 6, however many games you want to do in war zones or arenas, and you can be getting your teeth actually, just smashed in. So maybe you want to take a break. Like, all right, let's jump to
Yeah.
GSF. Like a
Yeah.
different variety of PvP, right? And you may have a better time there. Some people enjoy GSF more than they enjoy PvP. Personally, I enjoy GSF. But if you got credit for the PvP track, broadening it so that you can kind of give yourself more options to maybe step away from, war zones or arenas and just kind of cool down in another area, still with your group of friends and having a good time. It, I think it would be beneficial in just bringing more people into just the PvP, you know, the enjoyment of PvP.
There's
I
something.
feel
Yeah, go ahead, Seema.
I feel like the the PvP track. I mean, if the goal was to make it interesting to new people and get more people queuing and all that stuff, it kind of threw them in. If I feel like it kind of threw them into the deep end though, because the track is so hard.
It is the track, achieving the track and getting through the track and trying to get the weekly objectives done is serious business. That is not for the casual try out some PvP crowd. Uh, so that's interesting. The this question though of GSF, I do want to talk about that for a second. GSF. It's still PvP, and
Hmm.
same situation. Somebody has to lose for you to win, but for some reason, and maybe it's because it's spaceships instead of your avatar and the representative of you getting punched in the face in a war zone. It feels less personal for one when you lose, and your individual performance uh, to me seems a little more satisfying. Again, even if you lose, because you can get some good shots in, you can get some objectives done, you can shoot some satellites or whatever you're gonna do. It still has the opportunity for the patterns to form, but for some reason, it in Star Wars: The Old Republic, it does feel less personal. Do you feel that, Machete, as well, or is that just me, or how does that sort of feel for you compared to regular PvP matches?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because you can't physically see the person, I mean, in PvP matches, like everyone, it's like you got a big huddle of other players in one area, and sometimes it's kind of hard to see who it is that you're actually attacking. And in GSF, I mean, like you're just focusing on the ship. You're not really focusing on who they are, really. I mean, it's it, it's nice in the sense that you can it seems less chaotic in my opinion, especially in war zones because there's a lot going on, especially if you're protecting or trying to capture a node. But if you look at, like, say, a team deathmatch in GSF, I mean, you don't have 10, 6 people focusing on one target or one objective. It's you pick your target and you go, right.
Good good point. You don't feel it necessarily as ganged up on as
As
much,
focused, yeah.
Yeah.
it's you
Yeah, and it's not really dependent on, like, your class. So, like, Sorks are targeted heavily,
yeah,
right? Because you don't know what are they healing? I mean, if they're a healer, you're gonna get targeted anyway. But Lightning Sorks, they also get targeted heavily because they hit hard, right?
right.
So
And they're a little
it
squishier if they're, when they lose their cooldowns. So you take them out because you're gonna get some of that DPS off the board on a squishier target. Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, and with GSF, I feel like every ship is the same. Right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, like, you have, like, your strike fighters, your scouts, your bombers are like your kind of like your tank, I guess. But I mean, even the bombers themselves, I mean, you can burn those down relatively quickly, right?
Yeah.
But
And
it
gunships are kind of the long range DPS, a little squishier, but you got to go chase them down. And again, nobody gets there's not like marks, and you're not like as much a little bit. And so the Forster in the chat room says, would it get more competitive and more serious and feel worse and have some more of these dark
Hmm.
patterns if it was made part of the track?
Yeah.
I
Good
think
question.
that's an interesting question.
I would think, like, if that were the case with war zones, I mean, you have to get like 45 medals, right? They took away medals from GSF, but for the weekly, you only need four, really four matches. If you lose, it's four matches. If you win, it's two matches.
Yeah.
So if you were to include it in the PvP, increase the amount of games that you need to play, right? So I mean, just to kind of meet the, I guess, to make it level between the two, the ground PvP and GSF. Um, but I just
But would you start to get pre-mades in GSF and, end up having a bad day in GSF just as much as you do in PvP and, have really good teams that know who to target and, and to get camped and all of that kind of thing. I think it could, which again might put it in the same kind of situation where the same kind of dark patterns start to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's sometimes I'll be sitting, in the before the game is starting, and you see certain names pop up. You're like, oh, this is gonna
Right.
be a rough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the same time, they're on your team. It's like, oh, this is like I feel good about going into this. But if
Right.
you get a larger group together, then you kind of run that risk, right? Of other pre-made teams that strictly do GSF are going to sit in these lobbies, and you're going to get paired against them. In fact, I think Max, we've sat in one, right? We had a relatively large GSF group, and we got pinned against a team that obviously does GSF, day in and day out, and we got smashed. So, to at least if getting into it, trying to get into it, if you kind of split groups, like we're all here for the same goal, and what we try to do, at least on Fridays, if we do get a bigger group, and you know we're we're always looking just to have fun. We may break those groups out, and queue separately. You'll still get pops relatively quickly, but it's less of a chance that you're gonna get pitted
Hmm.
against
The
a
pros.
group. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
pros,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think another potential issue with GSF in the PvP track is it could dilute the people that are focused on PvP because there's that strong incentive with the track for people to be in there and getting their objectives done. And the queues might suffer as a result.
It
And
is the
then,
worry. Yeah.
yeah. And then I think another issue, and I would very much expect there to be people who don't like the idea of GSF being part of it and want it to be PvP as PvP, especially since we came from ranked, to further dilute the value of sort of like the PvP season by throwing GSF in those people's minds, and there's an argument to be made. I bet that argument would come up. So I bet there would be that group of people that would be saying, "Hey, you already devalued what we had in ranked in putting this season together. Now you've got these tokens that people can get and even get some of those old rewards that we got that were pretty exclusive. That feels bad to those people who wanted those to be really exclusive. Feels good to the 99.9% of other people that now have a chance to get them. That's a separate issue. But to further then spread out what's going on there, I bet you would get some pushback. How much? And is it enough to say don't do it? I don't know. Uh,
I'm glad we don't have to make that decision.
yeah.
Right.
Well, let's make the decision, but we don't have to put up with we don't have to bear the brunt of the outcome of the
Yeah,
feedback.
right. Even
So
better.
we
Yeah.
will decide that it's a good idea and that GSF should be part of the PvP season, and then BioWare can deal with the messaging and the feedback.
Right. I think like the removal of ranked matches definitely changed a lot of things, for people who just strictly want to do PvP. But I mean, at the same time, I think the intent of eliminating that was to bring more people into PvP. And if you only limit it to just one aspect of it, in this case, war zones or arenas, I mean, you're not reaching a larger target audience. If you bring in more opportunities, I don't know. I don't really see how that could hurt in just PvP in general. Like I said, if you're having a bad time in war zones or arenas, you can switch to GSF. If you're getting rough time in GSF, you can switch back to ground PvP. You
Yeah.
know, if you make it more broad and available, different areas. I mean, GSF hasn't been touched since its creation. Really, I mean, there you could create new maps. You can create different kinds of games. I mean, you could get GSF matches where there's a bunch of like a huge team, like separate teams. I mean,
Yeah.
talking about like 20 versus 20, 30 versus that, like that would be. I mean, it would be intense, but I mean, it could also be pretty
New
fun.
new
It,
modes, new ships. There was always the talk of a
new
potential of a
ships,
stealth
yeah,
ship. And
yep,
what would a stealth ship bring to the table? I would love like a get a star destroyer, and one team has to defend the star destroyer, another team has to try to attack and destroy the star destroyer. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, in the early days of GSF, people did talk about a PvE version of GSF.
Yeah. Well, PVE. Well, I mean, then you're getting away from this PvP discussion, but
Right,
I would
right, right, right.
love PvE GSF. I would love to just get a squadron of, 4 to 8 of us or
And have a
16. I don't
target,
care,
yeah.
and for
Like
us all to go fly
take out a
to.
star fortress.
Yeah, take out. Yeah, exactly. Take out a star fortress in orbit with just like shoot it down. Do bombing runs on a star destroyer and blow it out of the sky. That would be amazing. I think that would be really fun.
yeah,
Um,
like Galactic Starfighter, right? Like
yeah,
those kinds of missions, but on a wider scale.
right. If from an
And actually,
MMO
yeah,
perspective, yeah, just get a bunch of friends, and go queue up and go do a thing. Um,
yeah. Honestly, I mean, Stas is one of the other new officers as well. Who this is really a lot of these groups are his brainchild really. Give credit to Stask, but I mean we were talking about that yesterday. The Galactic Starfighter having something to where yeah you have other people on the same team accomplishing it like operations in
Yeah,
in
yeah.
GSF.
yeah, roles, right. Design roles so that you do have people. You have your strike fighters that are frontline and a little bit more tanky, and you've got the the bombers, which are your support and your healers, and you've got the gunships, which are DPS, and your scouts and gunships, picking things off on the edges. That yeah, design the encounters so that you need to use those roles and set it up that way.
I will
I
need
think it'd be cool.
/follow to work.
With your ship. Well,
Yes.
well, okay, then what we should do is they should introduce a two-person ship, and you can just
Ooh,
jump in the
yeah,
gunner
the dry
seat,
yeah,
and you just man the guns, and
right.
someone else can fly you around, and then you can shoot down some TIE fighters, and then I'll yell back, "Don't get cocky, kid."
Or
I
you can
mean,
be
I
like
s
Dak. Dak can be like, I would feel like I could take on the entire empire, and then get caught in the crossfire.
Exactly. Uh, all right, so I think there's potential there. We will. I'll pick out somebody. SEMA, ring up BioWare and let them know that they need to do this. Uh,
I would like to see, just from listening to you guys talk about it, I would like to see some form of relaxation to the PvP track. I don't know what form. In fact, one idea I had was um, that there would be like, and I haven't done the math on it, but like say a 5-point version of an objective and a 12-point version of an objective, and that you could, if you wanted to play casually or you were new, you could do the 5.1, and if you did it every week, you could still make the whole track. But the
yeah,
people who want to play at a higher level and go for the 12-point versions. So like there's like what I would be striving for is a version of it that isn't
as
all your
hardcore and stressful.
all your game time is going to go to this, right?
Yeah,
Cuz maybe you don't want all your game time to go to PvP.
right, right. Yeah, it's interesting. Um, I, it would be nice if it was.
And I get the advantage too that Machete was talking about taking breaks. And I'll just say that I mean, people do that with ops all the time. Like if there's been many times where we spend X amount of time beating our heads against something, and then at the end of the night we'll say, well, okay, let's go do something that we can win.
Right. Yeah. Whereas with this PvP track, if you're trying to get an objective done, you can't go do something else. It's, you just then don't make any progress and might as well just shut the game off and come back later and just do this. Then you're going to do the same thing again. It does get a little bit rough. The it's the nature is still going to be there. The nature of the event, I think, is still going to be there. So it's still going to be a PvP event. You're still going to have the opportunity for dark pattern, dark participation. You do need to be careful of that. Personally, if that's of concern to you, and I think BioWare has tried to arrange things so that the most egregious forms of dark participation are disincentivized. The things like ELO really pushes it, where if someone comes in and you've got a ranking and anyone underperforming hurts your ranking, and your ranking is all that matters because you're trying to be the best of the best and top one on the server, you can end up getting into a situation which you are really negatively impacted by someone that even didn't that maybe even plays just as good as you or is even better than you, but they happen to be targeted. They happen to be tunneled on the first round of the arena or whatever, and then you lash out because they've put you in this situation where unless unless you get carried, that you could end up getting your personal rating hurt. You lash out because it because it can happen. You can get angry, and they've made all this stress. So they've taken that away. They've smoothed that out a little bit more. We have seen a lot of the toxicity that existed before go away as a result, but it's still that kind of situation where in order to really win, someone else has to lose. Which is, I'm interested to see some games out there that are really taking a stand against those kinds of patterns, and as a result, not having PvP as sort of be part of the platform or part of the game. A lot of others are going the other direction, and that's fine too. But
Yeah, it
and
absolutely
there's that
is.
kind of game exists, but then they have to deal with the outflow of that, and we as a society then need to think about what does that do, and is that really good, and should we do some more thinking and study and ask game studios to maybe do a little bit less of it, or to arrange, as BioWare has, a little bit less of those dark patterns, those that dark participation rewards for dark participation, that sort of manifest.
I mean, a lot of I don't know. I think if people had a lot of choices, it would even out.
More choices, less, more, and you know, and this exists a little bit even in the PvP weekly objectives. You still get rewarded for losses because one of the objectives is play 8 war zones. Okay. Another of the objective is very personal. It's get at least 7 medals. It's a little bit difficult to do that in some of the matches right now, so that's a little bit frustrating. But it's still get 7 medals, and then there's the win. So they are designing the objectives in that direction, and less of objectives only for you putting someone down. So you don't have to feel as bad if you don't if someone else, if you're the one who loses this round, which is interesting.
That's also kind of like the the dark side. Well, not really a dark side, but I mean, in PvP, there is going to be a losing team and a winning team,
Yep.
right? So
Right.
at a certain point, I mean, if you're strung along, and you're not winning any games, and that's where that toxicity is bred from, right?
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I just personally feel that if you broaden it, make more avenues for players to go to enjoy player versus player content, instead of localizing it to arenas and war zones, it would be possibly a step in the right direction in encouraging more of that uh, that interaction with other players, right?
Yeah.
And it could give you better ideas of what maybe things you can change, new ships, new maps, not even just for GSF, but even for ground PvP, just different styles of games that you can be involved in, you know.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. All right. All right. In our last couple of minutes, I did want to just talk. I mean, obviously, we're not going to go into instructional on GSF. We've got no time for that. But maybe we'll come back and do one of those, or we'll have Sask on and do some of this with Sask a little bit deeper
You
into
know what
GSF.
we
But
should do around GSF is we should just do a private match and stream it.
that's okay. So I mean, and that's on the list of the things to do. Private matches. Private matches are a really good way, and a lot of people don't even realize they exist. Create two groups, and then have the group leader of one group challenge the group leader of another group to a PvP match, and you can do it with GSF, and you can decide which kind of GSF match you're going to go into. You go into a map; it doesn't count for anything. You're not going to get rewards for it, but you can go then and practice. You can go then and just challenge and have fun with your friends. You can go. It's a really, really good way to practice. Um, so yeah, we should and sort of show it off. And we've done this before. We've gone into that kind of private match. We've only done it once or twice, but had an open guild night where we took everybody in, had a private match, and said, okay, all right, now everybody press this button. This button, acquires a target. You can't shoot anyone until you have a target. Oh, that's why, me trying to shoot all my missiles off into space, we're not hitting anybody, even though I'm facing directly at them. There's only one or two weapons in the game that work by just pointing your ship in the right direction. So you do all these things, you have people try it out, and you get more people into GSF. But I did want to just throw out or just talk about maybe one tip or two tips. What's your hot take or your hot tip for GSF right now, Machete, that you want to put out there that people need to look into and try out, or your recommendation for what people should be thinking about when they're doing GSF lately?
So a lot of different things. If you're new to GSF, keybinds. Know where your conversions are. Your power, your shields, your weapon power.
Your
It,
pools.
it
Yep.
your pull. Yeah, you got to know your abilities. You got to know your conversions. It's a matter of just immersing yourself into it, and it's gonna be rough. And I think a big downside is you start with ships that have like nothing, right? So uh, you just kind of have to get into it and learn. And I think having opportunities to where if you have the chance to get a bunch of friends together and have practice matches, like you could see how these ships work and how the mechanics work and stuff like that. So um, it's really just getting involved with just playing and just kind of biting, gritting your teeth and
Yep.
getting in it.
I think if I had to give out just some tips, I'll do three tips: one for beginner, one for intermediate, one for advanced. And I'm doing this on the fly, so let me see if I can articulate it. So for beginner, I think make sure you pick up the intro to GSF mission, get in there, fly a gunship, and maybe only a gunship. You have to target people with the E button. You target, look where that is. And then you hold on your mouse button to charge up while you're hovering over that target off in the distance. You can be 15,000 meters away, but you can do a lot of damage. You can even shoot the satellites. If you get into a satellite domination match, you can shoot the satellites and have some practice just sort of shooting the satellites. People come and shoot you, you'll blow up. That's fine. Just respawn, get in the gunship, and just practice targeting people and shooting them. Intermediate, I think I would say power pools. You mentioned it. It once you start to be able to master the power pools, your engine power, your shield power, and your weapon power, you do want to be switching back and forth between maxing out those power pools, and they're on your F1, F2, F3, F4 buttons by default keybind. F1, F2, F3 focuses the power pool in one of those particular areas. When I'm flying out into the middle of the map, I'm using F3, which is my engine pool, and making sure that I've got a lot of engine power available. You go a little bit faster and you don't deplete your engine power as much. You want to have some amount of engine power for whatever you're doing. You don't want to deplete yourself because then you don't get to use your little escapes and things like that. And then as soon as you get someone in your sights and you're ready to start shooting, bang, you got to switch over to your weapons power so you get a little bit more weapons damage and it doesn't deplete as quickly. And then if you did some shots and they're out of your sight again, I'll pop over and put up my shields, increase my shield power. You get more shields, your shield regen faster, and you stay alive more.
And the strafe, I think that
That's
is a
the
very
advanced one. Yeah.
unutilized. Yeah, but it's easy, right? So I think the default is you hold down control in the movement you want to go. So if you kill your engines and you're just floating there, you could hold control in your movement
Or
and you could
is it
peek
shift?
around.
Shift D, shift A?
I
Um,
make it, yeah, I use shift in my movement, but I think I was looking at it earlier today and I thought the
the default
default was you
keybind.
hold,
Um,
yeah, but I use shift. I hold shift in the movement I want to go, and if your engines are stopped and you're just floating there, you can kind of peek around corners,
it's
you
an
know.
underused ability. You do have to get used to it and practice it a little bit because you have to hold down the control button. If it's control or shift, whatever you got it bound to, you have to hold down shift and before you press the A or D, and then it'll start moving your ship. And it does. It drifts your ship sideways. If you're in a gunship and you want to get really, really good, you start to do that. You start to hide behind a rock. You can charge up your gun while you start to drift out so that as soon as you get in line of sight of someone, you can pick them off, even if it's another gunship, and they won't be able to shoot you because you've been behind the rock the whole time. So you can really get tricky with that. I think that's a nice little fun, least probably of any of these, the one of the least used abilities. And then the other kind of advanced things are to use your extra abilities, which are things that like put a debuff on the other ship or put a buff on your ship when you're about to do a combination of bigger abilities. And then with each of the ships, you need to look through what the combinations of abilities, just like a rotation on a character, you need to look through the combination of abilities. Like on a strike fighter that has an EMP missile, which knocks out shields, and then a proton torpedo, which puts a dot on other players or can be used at long range. You come in close, you drop their shields with an EMP, they start to fly away, they're trying to get away from you. Now, even though they're a little bit further out, then you use the proton torpedo second, all the while you're still shooting them with your guns. That's the way that kind of thing works. But you gotta work on those synergies, and that's the difference when you see the people on the map and you go, that person must be cheating because they got 80,000 damage and everyone else has 15,000 damage. It's not. They're doing all of these things, and they know all of the ways to put their power pool with their combinations, with picking up a power up and using all of their abilities on cooldown every single time and getting that damage out there. That's the way it works.
Absolutely, just knowing your abilities, and another thing too, if you're getting into it, if you're new to GSF, once you start, accumulating those shipwrecks, those fleet wrecks, unlock your ships. Unlock your ships because
Yes.
if you unlock
Good
them
point.
later, you're not going to get any of those
Oh.
stored fleet and shipwrecks
Yeah.
for those for them. So unlock them early. The grind is real, right? So
Yep.
you're gonna have to just get in, and you're gonna take some hits out of the gate, but you're gonna build those wrecks and you're gonna be able to
Yeah.
use them to your other ships, and then you're gonna learn what works for you. Like certain ships only have certain secondary, you know, um, abilities. Certain ships only have uh, certain engine capabilities. So the retro thrust or the barrel roll or something like that. So
Yep.
some of that could be beneficial to just your play style. So unlock them early, build those wrecks, and then distribute them to what you feel like fits your play style.
Yep. All right, I think this calls for a whole GSF update episode. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can do that. So put in the comment down below what your top tips are for GSF, and we'll add it. Actually, I'm serious. Get on our Discord or something and tell us what your top tips are, and maybe we'll get Stask on, or Machete, or Stask and Machete. We'll see what we can do, and do a GSF update. We haven't done one of those in a while, because it can be really fun. And if we do convince BioWare to put it in the PvP track in PvP seasons, maybe next season, it would be a fun thing to be able to have some skills in and drop into when you do get tired of that pre-made queuing against you constantly for an evening in PvP. All right. Well, this was excellent. It's a fun conversation and some fun ideas back and forth about sort of where things are at. And we'll see if I keep my promise to myself and stay away from PvP. I think I'm gonna, because there's a lot of other fun things to do in the game that I'm doing right now. So I think with that we can wrap up. We can take our EPC 463 droid and kick him out on airlock to broadcast this episode to everyone. Machete, I was going to ask if there was any place that people should come find you if they want to ask you questions. I know one place they could probably find you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in the AIE Discord, or you can, search me directly. Yeah, I'm Machete Wisdom. Just Machete_Wisdom if you have questions, or if you're interested in joining our Wednesday PvP nights. They occur between 7:15 Central Time Wednesdays, and then on for GSF, it's the same time, but on Fridays. So all are always welcome. We're not looking to see who has the best numbers, or what have you. We're just, we encourage people to come in, and who want to maybe get involved in playing it for the first time, or just looking to, expand their experience in SWTOR. Maybe you're tired of doing, flashpoints or operations or weeklies day in and day out. All
Yeah.
are welcome. So
Yeah.
it's a fun environment. There's no judgments. We're not going to ask you to be the best, but we welcome everybody.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. And to get to our Discord, the AIE Guild is on Starforge, both the Republic and the Imperial side. And what we do on the PvP nights and our Tuesday night stuff sometimes switches back and forth. You can find us at aie-guild.org, and there's a Discord link right there on the Guild webpage. Everything happens in Discord these days. You can see in Discord our SWTOR section, where we're all chatting all day and all night about SWTOR and getting invites and getting you into the Guild. You can also see all the other channels. We have a really fun thing that's going on in about a week and a half, where we're going to do a series of D&D one-shots, and there's signups that have opened just now for the D&D one shot. What is it called, Seema? It's like the week of one shots, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Week of one shots, I think.
But there's about 4, 5, 6 DM dungeon masters that have set up a series of one shots that you can sign up for. Really great opportunity to get in there and have some fun with D&D. We have a very active D&D community and some really excellent DMs that have been doing it for a while. So check that out. That's also in our Discord, aie-guild.org. And then for our podcast, the SWTOR Escape podcast, newoverlords.com and YouTube/newoverlords. You can also come chat with us in our New Overlords Discord, which is newoverlords.com/Discord. That'll get you to the link right there. You can follow me on Twitter at MaxTheGrayan, and our channel handle at the New Overlords. We're also on Instagram, where you can find the New Overlords, or New Overlords, I think is what it is on Instagram. Maybe Max the Gray, because I should track that one down. But we always post when the podcast is produced on all of those places. Discord's the best place to come chat with us, though. Love to have you there. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.